right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, the titles of truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. Yahawah, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The RAWCHAA shares the Holy Spirit. We're the brothers of the Great Millstone Chicago branch. I'm the brother Iwalum. Joined with.
It's the brother AHPARYAM.
Come back at you, brothers and sisters of that household of faith of the hopeful right select with another lesson. Now, Lord, we hope this lesson be edifying through the spirit and power of Yahawah Shai. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. As you can see the title, servant on horses, because what? The heathen, beginning with these Edomites, the self-proclaimed white race, beginning with these elite banking families who comes from the chief tribe of Amalek, which are Edomites. They are, given a position of power over the whole world, man, over the Israelites, man. When it says servants on horses, man, these Edomites, starting with these Edomites, these heathens, they have been given in a position of authority, basically control of the whole earth over the Israelites, man. Control over resources, different things of that nature, man. While the Israelites is in a low state, man.
And
but you got to know,
yes, sir. And that's backwards, man, because hey, we understand that the nations were created to serve Israel. And we understand that Israel was created to be the top nation on the planet Earth. Let me share the screen real quick. This is Deuteronomy 14:2. It says, "For thou art an holy people unto Yahawah thy God, and Yahawah hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon earth." All right, because it says in Psalms, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. Okay, that's why we have servants upon horses, right? Daniel, it says that the Most High sets up over it the basest of men.
Yep.
You see that? That's the servants upon horses. Again, due to our disobedience, it's not how it's supposed to be. All right, these nations were created to be servants to the nation of Israel. But like the brother mentioned right now, hey, this is our punishment there. And they don't know how to rule. They don't know how to rule for shit.
Exactly.
They're servants upon horses, man. You give you give the you put the fool in an elevated position, they will still not learn righteousness,
Yep, even Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, man. So it was given to these, starting with these devils to ultimately to have full dominion and control over the earth, man. It's not because they're a mighty nation. It's because, like the brother said, it's because of our disobedience, man. But I had you want to start with that Ecclesiastes, brother? 10:7?
Yes, sir. Ecclesiastes 10. I'm gonna just start at 6. 5. It says, "There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler." It says,
error that you can read that part again, brother.
It says, "As an error which proceedeth from the ruler."
Right, an error, completely going off, man. An error from the ruler, because as the brother, said a few minutes ago, man, hey, these heathens don't know how to rule, man.
Right.
The earth is not governed by the ways of, the law, statutes, commandments, by the ways of the Lord, man. So ultimately, everything is out of course, as the brother quoted the scripture in that Proverbs 29:2 earlier, man. The whole earth is out of course, man. Because it talks about when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn, man. Yes, so we ultimately have wicked kings in rulership, man. Individuals, heathens that's not knowing what they're ultimately of what they're doing, man.
Right. They're in error because they're just doing their own thing according to their own mind. They have no wisdom because they don't apply the law, such commandments of Yahawah, which the Lord said, "This is your wisdom in the sight of the nations." All right, but hey, what it says in Psalms, who are you to declare my statutes and take the covenant in your mouth, seeing that you hated instruction? See that?
Yep.
So,
like about that, brother.
No, you good. Verse 6, it says, "Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place." You want to break that down, Ak?
Yeah, folly is set in great dignity, but the rich sit in low place. So foolishness, everything that's not, the ways of Yahweh Shai is uplifted, but it
Right.
says the rich sit in low place, meaning what? This wisdom, man. It's in a low place because it's not uplifted, man.
Right.
You see these people following the vibration of the king, man. But what's that? It's a rock 10. Ultimately,
As
it
is
goes
the
to the
ruler, so is the
yeah,
people.
kind as the ruler, so is his people, man. So ultimately, what you have a lot of these people following the vibration of wickedness, man. And it says the wisdom sit in a low place. So ultimately, what the wisdom is ultimately in a low place, man. It's not uplifted here in the soils of Babylon or in the world. In fact, man.
Bro. And the rich is the elect, man. Those who possess this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. The prophets and the elect, man, is in a low place in this kingdom.
Yep. Can
But
I hit you real
folly
quick?
is exalted, man. Folly is exalted. Look at these fucking streamers, rappers,
Yep.
entertainers. These women, these whores are just exalted for doing fuck all. Who cares? Like, it's just all folly, vanity, and confusion.
Yep. Can I back up that Ecclesiastes 10:7 you read a minute ago, brother?
Kind
This is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. And this goes
of.
back to the question because you start at verse 15, which I'm actually read that real quick.
I got it.
Deuteronomy 20, Deuteronomy 28 and 15, it says, "But it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all
Mhm.
these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." And going back to that Ecclesiastes 10 and 7, the brother read, ultimately, you're having servants on horses is because of our disobedience, man. So ultimately what the Lord put, hey, this is nothing new, man. The Lord put the enemies over us, man, to ultimately to rule over us because of our disobedience, man, in our error, because we didn't follow the ways of Yahweh Shai. So what? The Lord put us in a low condition. If you read the curse of Deuteronomy 28, you will know what Jay go through on an everyday basis. But just to jump back down to where I was at, Deuteronomy 28 and 43, and it reads, "The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low." Meaning what? These heathens, beginning with these Edomites, are in a high position. Meaning what? They're in a position of authority. They're in a position of power. Just look at Amalek, man. Amalek controls the whole world, man. And they're the chief tribe of Edom. The small hat. They control, your government. They control your money system. They control all facets of life because ultimately it was given unto them, man. Hey, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Meaning he is going to be, in the forefront. We're going to be, the Lord, the Lord, man.
Right.
He's going to get the best of all things in this society, or we're going to get the, the cheapest of things, the less of things, the weakest of things, because we're at the bottom, man.
That's right, bro. And I got one for you.
Kaka.
Oh, actually, we didn't even hit verse 7 in Ecclesiastes 10.
Oh, damn.
It says, because that 5 and 6 was heavy too, but this is really the title of the lesson right here. Is Ecclesiastes 10 and 7. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Hey, a horse is a horse in the scriptures. The horse represents power and rulership. Okay, so servants are up on the horses, man. And the princes, who are the princes, the elect of the nation of Israel, they're walking. We're servants to them. We're servants. It's flipped. See that? It's flipped. That's the whole point. Looks like the brother had dropped out, so we'll just wait for him to come back. But I'm gonna just read this, Daniel. Oh, there he is. I got you. I just read that verse 7 and broke it down.
Yeah, Salaki about that. I just had to answer that text for work. But
Okay.
yeah, Khan, man. Ultimately, yeah, you have these heathens in a position of authority, and you ultimately have Jake. Basically the roles are reversed, man. You
Right.
have, these heathens in a position of authority, beginning with these Edomites, and you ultimately have Jake ultimately in that low condition, ultimately playing the role of a servant, man.
Right.
And this is nothing new, man. You look at, every major captivity, man. Hey, you had the heathens ultimately exalted. You ultimately had the Israelites base, man. You know, and you know what that reminds me of? You can grab the parable in Luke 16, talking about the parable of Lazarus and the rich man.
I think that's 18.
I believe it's Luke 16 and 19. I
Oh
believe.
yeah, you were right, Salakia.
That's okay.
Here we go. Luke 16 and 19, the rich man and Lazarus. There was a certain rich man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day.
Right. Beginning with these elite banking families, man. They, they ultimately they get the best of things in this society, man.
Right.
Lands, things of that nature, man.
They're living splendidly, magnificently.
Yep.
It says, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gates, full of sores.
Right. Lazarus represents the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Ultimately being in that low condition, because of the curses, because of our disobedience. YAHAWASHI put the curses upon us. So ultimately those sores represents what? The curses, us being in that downtrodden state, man, under the the rulership of the heathens, man.
And that name Lazarus is it's Eleazar in the Hebrew. Allah Izar, Allah meaning God, and Izar meaning help. So it's Allah Izar, Lazarus, whom God helps.
Yep.
So that's just just to break down what that name means. Verse 21, and like the brother said, that represents the tribes, man, the nation of Israel. Verse 21, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table.
Right, because just to break down that part real quick, you have a lot of our people, that ultimately wants a piece of Esau Edom's pie, man. So what do our people do? They'll sell out to get, a piece of Esau's pie. They'll sell out. They'll even sell out their own people just to get what Esau has, man. Even these other heathens, but beginning with these Edomites, they will sell out to the Edomite. These rich elite banking families and the rich of Esau Edom to just to make it in this society.
And it says, moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores.
And who are the dogs, man? The other nations, man. So they ultimately they capitalize off, Jake's, suffering.
Right. They forwarded the affliction.
Yep, they help forward the affliction. And ultimately, what do these heathens do? Being in so-called Jake's neighborhood, because Jake really don't own anything. They set up businesses, they set up shops. They ultimately make money off Jake, and they go back to their own homeland, man, or their own neighborhood.
They profit off Jake by basically feeding him poison and bullshit.
Exactly.
If you go to those fucking stores in the hood, man, it's nothing but bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's nothing but bullshit. Pork, abominations, and poisonous snacks and bullshit.
Yep.
Hey, the Lord said I was very displeased with the heathen, man, because they forwarded the affliction. And that's what it means by the dogs came and licked his sores.
Mm-hmm.
Yahawashi even said, give not that is holy to the dogs, man. The dogs are the heathen. Verse 22, and it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. And the rich man died also and was buried.
Yeah, but that was the few verses I wanted to get, just to hone on that point. But Ibaya, you say you had Lamentations 5, did you?
Yes, sir. Lamentations 5. I'm gonna just start at 7. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that doth deliver us out of their hand.
Right. Servants have ruled over us, man. And like I mentioned before, man, this is nothing new for Jake. Because Jake is, is known for always going off and transgressing against the ways of YAHAWASHI. And you go back towards the Babylonian captivity, man, with Nebuchadnezzar, you go to the Medo-Persian Empire, you got different kings like Darius, Cyrus, things like that, where it was in subjection under those heathens.
Alexander, Antiochus, Epiphanes.
Yep, the Grecian Empire, which was ruled by Edomites, man. And the second, the ancient Roman Empire ruled by Edomites, and the second leg of the Roman Empire, which is America, same thing, man. We're ultimately under subjection under these heathens, man. Being, tributes to these heathens, man. You know, because what in Baruch 3 it says we are yet this day in our captivity, where we're made to
Subject to
pay,
payments.
subject to payment. So we ultimately have to get tribute unto Caesar, man. You know?
See, in verse 4 it says, we have drunken our water for money, our wood is sold unto us.
Mm-hmm. And exactly right. You got it right by you.
Yeah, and there's none that will deliver us. All right. In Deuteronomy it says you will be slaves and nobody will buy you, meaning nobody will deliver you, nobody will save you, get you out of this. It's we're stuck by ourselves, man. Of course, Yahawashi is ultimately gonna save us because his name means he is a savior. But as far as like carnally or getting help from the nations, not gonna happen.
Yep.
Only our God can get us out of this.
That's right. Hey, could you type in a blue letter? Nobody asked, or how is it quoted? Ask how thou doest. Because ultimately, what like the brother said, these heathens are not for us. Because even in the scriptures it says we have watched for a nation that cannot save us.
Damn.
You know.
Okay, that's Jeremiah 15:5. Let me pull it up right here. Jeremiah 15:5. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest?
And exactly right, man. Hey, us being in this low condition, these heathens don't care, man. These heathens, love to see us in that low condition. What's that? Lamentations 2:15. All they that pass by, they clap their hands and say, "Is this the daughter of Jerusalem?" So what? We're made a mockery. As the scripture say, we're an infamy amongst the people, man. Being in this low condition, man. Even in the scripture says, this is the day we have found, we have seen it, man. So these heathens wants us to be, servants unto them. That's why, they ultimately keeps us in a state of sin, to keep us in that downtrodden state, because they know, going into what's that, Judith the 5th chapter, I believe, like verse 17 on down, how it talks about, I believe it was the Ammonite heathen was talking to Holofernes about about the Israelites. If you keep them in a state of sin, ultimately their power won't fight for them. Something along those lines, man.
Exactly.
So these heathens want us to be in that downtrodden state to keep us servants and under their foot forever, man.
Yeah, let us cast the bands from off of us, man. They don't want to be under the rule.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go off and do their own thing.
That's right.
This is I got a few more, man. This is servants on horses. It says Daniel 4:17. This matters by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men.
Yep.
Boom, right there. So the nation of Edom is the wicked, and they're the lowest nation on earth, but they are currently in rulership, the highest position. So
right.
He set up over the basis of men.
Right. The basis of men, they're low in morality. They're low in standards, man. They're low in all different, type of categories that you can think of, man. The base of men. Hey, talking about the Edomites, man, the wicked, of the Bible, man. And that's who's ultimately in rulership right now, man. Hey, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, man. That's who's in the power seat, the seat of authority right now, man.
This is Job 30 to back it up.
Yep.
Say Job's present state is humiliating, man. Hey, the elect, man, our present state is humiliating because we had to be humiliated. Says Job 30. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock.
Yeah, the dogs of my flock, because Esau, because it talks about in Hebrews, lest there be any fornicator than Esau. Going back to what's that Daniel's 4:17, set up over at the base of men. This guy have sex with animals. Do all type of filthy, lewd sexual acts, man. That's who's in rulership right now, man. The ruling over the Israelites, man.
Right, the little ones, the insignificant ones, because when it says younger than I in the Hebrew, Taza Ayar, the little, insignificant, young, because in the spirit, you got to remember, in the spirit, who was created first? Yahawashi, then the prophets and the elect on down. So those spirits were created first. So the there you see, so the Edomites, after the fact, man, like they're little, they're insignificant. They're not the elect, they're not the first fruits spirits. So
Yep.
that's why it says younger than I, because even though Esau came out before Jacob, so he's technically he's the elder. He is the elder in the flesh, but not in the spirit. Nah, they're little, insignificant. They're the young ones.
Yep, and exactly right, man. It was another precept I was actually thinking of, because with these devils being in the power seat, the seat of authority, what is it? They're not in trouble as other men. If you can grab that real quick,
Psalm 73:5. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men.
Right. They're not in trouble as other men. Ultimately what? They're not plagued like Jake is, man. Jake is under the curses. We have to worry about, because if you read Deuteronomy 28:15 all the way down to 68, we're not going to have any assurance of thy life. We're going to ultimately, go to the enemy for the one of all things. Hey, beginning with these small hats, they don't have to do that, man. They're giving the finer things in life, sort of say, man.
And they're giving everything for free.
Yep. The best education. As 𝐤𝐤𝐄𝐄 always say, by the age of 18, man, a lot of these small hats are damn near millionaires, man.
They don't have to work. Basically everything in this world is funneled up to the small hats.
Yep.
Pretty much. And why don't you ask yourself, why is the United States in a war with Iran right now? Why don't you ask yourself that question?
Yep.
Verse 6, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covered them as a garment. So they're like, we're good. We can do whatever the fuck we want. We're in rulership. We're above these people. They're goyim.
Yep. Hey, because who go tell them no, man? Because what? They're in the seat of authority. They're in the power seat, man. Who's going to tell them no?
Who's going to stop me?
Yeah.
They're like, I got the sword. Who's going to stop me?
And exactly right, man. But that's pretty much all I had. About anything you
had? Yeah, I got this. Isaiah 60:12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately talking about read that again one more time, Baba Kusha.
Isaiah 60:12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
Right. When the true Israelites come back into power, beginning with YAHAWASHI, King David, the elect, man. Hey, ultimately what? If you're not trying to serve, man, you're gonna be, you're ultimately gonna be you put to death, man. Ultimately when the true Israelites get back into power. And I know it was another you had wanted to get by. I believe it was Zechariah 1, or was it Zephaniah 1? The stranger? Or did you read that earlier?
No, lie. Let me see.
It was something in the first chapter. Was it Zechariah first? Let me see.
What does it say?
Zechariah 1:15.
Oh, Zechariah 1:15. Oh yeah, Khan. It says 14. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, cry thou, saying, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I'm jealous for Jerusalem and for Sion with a great jealousy. I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction.
Right, they helped forward the affliction, man. So when Jacob was already in a downtrodden state, they ultimately put more hell upon our people, man. Ultimately taking advantage. When we went to the parable, what was that, Luke 16? Ultimately talking about the dog, licked up the swords, man. These heathens took advantage, man, when Jacob was already fucked up and out of it, man. And this goes with these heathens being in the seat of authority and the Israelites being at the bottom, man. But that's pretty much all I had, brother.
Likewise. But hey, I'm gonna just say one more note too. We understand that this is all being broken down and flipped back to the righteous order. you know, all according to prophecy and the will of Yahawah BAHASHAM Yahushai.
That's right.
All right, man. So with that, we pray that this lesson was edifying, and we give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah,
Yahawah, BAHASHAM,
Yahawashi,
BAHASHAM.
BAHASHAM. Double honors to our apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who taught us its truth, who rule and teach well. Shalom to brothers out there, man, and YASHARAHLA.
YASHARAHLA.
Abba.
Abba. Until next time, Lord willing.
Shalom.